So I've mostly been just kind of ignoring what's going on in tech. My time at NBC ended, and as a result, I don't really have to be a professional tech correspondent right now. But there is so much shit going on in the world of tech right now that I just kind of want to like rattle off some of the things that I just look at and think, whoa, whoa, whoa. Things that both make me miss the job, make me want to get in there and be mixing it up, right? But also make me deeply grateful that I don't have to deal with any of this crazy stuff right now. So, you know, the OpenAI stuff alone would have been enough to keep anybody busy, right? So, OpenAI announces this new product, Sora, that is a text to video service. It'll produce a minute of video. You just type in you want, a kitty cat as Darth Vader fighting Luke as a dog, and it'll just do that. So that's crazy enough, right? And all of the implications that come out of that. Is that going to replace Hollywood? Is that going to replace creativity? Is this the end of copyright? How is it trained? Blah, 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 right? Meanwhile, Sam Altman gets reinstated, gets sort of his name cleared by this internal investigation that took place at OpenAI. He has basically refused to sort of describe the circumstances of his firing by the board until the investigation was closed. And we still don't know what it is, right? It hasn't really leaked. And I really look forward to those of you still doing the job, one of you nailing that, and thank you in advance. But that investigation, right, is still internal and still private. Meanwhile, the board has been announced, and it's all of these, industry people. It's not a lot of academic people. Not a lot of outside voices, a lot of inside voices, and Sam Altman's back on the board, right? He's back in the mix. So that's that. He closed that up pretty tidily. Then uh, there's Elon Musk. Again, that guy would keep me so busy. Every day it'd be some new crazy thing he did, right? Well, this thing where he has an oral contract with Don Lemon, the former CNN anchor, to have him on, as a sort of 24-hour exclusive talk show host, I guess, on X. And the first episode is him interviewing Elon Musk, and supposedly that interview included him asking Musk all sorts of things about ketamine and anti-Semitism and the rest of it. Musk supposedly told Lemon, "I don't have to answer questions from reporters." Free speech, everybody. And according to Kara Swisher, he then called Don Lemon's agent right after the interview and said, "Contract's canceled." It's not clear that they had anything in writing. Supposedly it was just an oral agreement, so don't get into oral agreements with billionaires. Get that stuff in writing. But Don Lemon is now going to be sort of navigating his way either into a payday out of that or what the deal is. But I have to say, all of that makes me just sort of think about, like, what is the future of broadcasting? And, if the former toast of CNN is sort of stuck in this weird way, is that a good sign for the industry in general? I don't know. Like, all of that is sort of crazy. And then, meanwhile, in the background of all of that craziness that's happening, and this isn't even including, Donald Trump claiming that his past, misbehavior is actually AI fiction created by the Democrats, and all of the ways in which we're seeing, non-consensual sexual imagery move around, and, like right after my time at NBC ended, George Carlin was created in an AI form without the permission of his estate, much to the horror of his daughter. Like, all this stuff has just been like, boom. It's like the universe has been saying, like, oh, you're out of tech coverage? Well, here's a lot of crazy stuff happening that is either designed to make me miss it or not miss it. I can't really tell. But against the backdrop of all of that, quietly, the EU passed its AI regulations, which try to classify the danger level of AI, which seek to actively articulate the idea that AI is going to be a problem for human agency and independent thought and the rest of it. Fascinating. And, the kind of language that American industrialists tend to sort of scoff at, but the Europeans are taking very, very seriously. I've talked to European experts in the past who, say, like, we have a really strong and immediate memory of what happens when you just let the information ecosystem run amok, and it leads to bad things, including Hitler. That's what one former EU Parliament member told me. you know, their feelings about it are very, very different than ours. And so they've passed regulation. And now the question will be, is that going to generate a sort of balkanized set of regulations around AI, right? Are you going to have different rules in Europe than you have in other countries? Or are you going to have one set of rules that have to conform to the strictest possible interpretation of the EU's laws, in the same way that California's emissions requirements basically created a whole standard, a de facto national standard for how cars are made in this country, because nobody wants to make multiple cars for multiple states, right? Like, all of that has been happening. Meanwhile, I've been chilling with my kids. And, you know, I literally cleaned out the inside of a vacuum cleaner the other day. I unscrewed the whole thing, took it apart, and cleaned it. That's the kind of, that's where my head's been at. So to tune back into the news and see where tech is at right now, whoa, you guys.